Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this great world of ours. Today is July 29th, 2026, and it is day 45 of my video challenge. So today I just want to recap some of the things I said yesterday, or maybe didn't say. When I got done yesterday, I kind of rambled on so long, I couldn't remember if I completed some of my main thoughts or not, but so I thought I would do a little bit of a recap. And just, I've been thinking about whether or not to go into the Lutheran ministry. And the main takeaway from that was that, that church has been such a sanctuary for me in the last 10 years of my deep, serious soul searching, that I thought if I could provide that for other people, I would feel like I'd done something worthwhile with my life. That's how important that has been for me. And such a resource, that community. And to kind of help foster that kind of community, I think would be amazing. So I just wanted to get that out. And otherwise, I had a really great conversation with a friend today over dinner. We really just centered around all the things that I'm passionate about, which are socialism, sociopathy, and AI, and the economy. Um, I watched this incredibly interesting, and I mentioned this before actually, talk by, what's his name? He's one of the UFO guys. Um, oh, darn. I want to remember. Richard Dolan. Yeah, Richard Dolan. And he basically talked about how all civilizations must deal with an ever increasing state of sophistication of information handling. That's how we progress, right? We get more sophisticated in how we handle information. Um, Maybe we start off with just an oral tradition, and eventually we get to a written tradition, and eventually we get to specialization, and then we have just these giant databases of information, to where in order to maintain a highly sophisticated society, you have to have a highly sophisticated and well integrated information system to manage all of that knowledge, and specialized knowledge, right? It's areas of specialization. The point is, the biggest thing for me is that the levels of wealth that we see today are not possible without those layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of social integration. Meaning that it really has nothing to do with the individual at that point. It has nothing to do with the Elon Musks or the um, Larry Ellisons or the Bill Gates or anything like that, right? They just happen to be catching the wave of this giant ocean of layers of sophistication. So it's not even what they're doing. Their sail happens to be set correctly to catch all of that. And so to allow somebody to have that much wealth, and it's not even really them. It has nothing to do with them. There were so tons of other systems that were better than Microsoft, right? Uh, so it's not even about him being better than anybody else. It was really just dumb luck and an aggressive, anti-competitive market tactics. which were illegal. He absolutely broke monopoly laws by forcing companies like Dell and HP to bundle Microsoft Office for free on every computer if they wanted to be able to preload Windows, which was the dominant, and this is Windows 3.1. It's the dominant operating system at the time, and later it was Windows 95. If Dell and HP and Compaq and those companies wanted to be able to preload that operating system onto their computers to ship out, they had to be willing to also load a free version of Microsoft Office onto every computer. And what that did was that obliterated the competition for the Office suites. Anybody where you had to pay for their suite, they died. And there were much better Office suites out there, but they couldn't. Microsoft at that time already had the monopoly on the operating system. So if they said we want to give this away for free, even though it was absolute shit in those days, Microsoft Office was absolute shit back in the 90s. It was free. People used it. Killed the competition. Now they charge an arm and a leg. They want your whole life's information to use their stuff, right? That's how it goes. They never got called out on it. Government fucked up. Couldn't call them out on it properly. They tried to go after him for bundling Internet Explorer. Who cares? They never charged for Internet Explorer. But they eventually charged for Microsoft Office. And it killed the competition, right? That was their cash cow. Way above the operating system. They made way more money off Microsoft Office than they ever did the operating system. So they don't deserve that money because it's not their product that made all that cash. That cash that they have is a product of the level of economic manufacturing sophistication that the entire earth has gotten to. So yeah, they deserve some of it, but not the amount that they have. And the fact that we're allowing these companies just unregulated wealth is breaking our economy. It's what's fucking everything up completely. They're literally sucking up all the oxygen out of the room. And we're going back to feudalism. Feudalism is where all the nobility owned all the land, and everybody had to pay rent to do anything. That's why everyone risked life and limb to come to America. Because, in America, the European nobles didn't own that land. And that doesn't mean that land wasn't unoccupied. It just means that we were able to steal it. And because of that, you could have a fresh start if you survived, right? You weren't beholden to any royalty, but we're getting to the point where everything is owned now and you have to pay somebody for everything. So we're getting back to that because we've had a bunch of mentally ill people running the economy and the government, and we need to kick them out. They're mentally ill. They actually are. They're absolutely mentally ill. Sociopathic people who suffer from sociopathic behaviors like narcissism and pathological lying and grandiosity and complete lack of empathy. They are criminally insane. That means that they don't care about the law. They don't care about it. They don't even understand it. People like Trump who say, I don't even understand why those idiots joined the military to fight in World War II. What did they get out of it? They were chumps, right? They lack the capacity to think in ways that is congruent with civil society. They don't fit in. They are sociopathic, meaning they have a mental illness that prevents them from working in society. And we're allowing them to run the country. And I say allowing because the majority always rules. And this has been borne out time and time and time and time and time again throughout history. Even the Roman Empire fell because, the majority of the people just said, fuck it. We're not into this anymore. Every type of despotic rule has fallen because the masses, the majority, said, we don't want this anymore. Look at France and Louis XVI. Look at Rome, look at the Egyptian Empire, look at all those. They all fell because eventually the people just said, no, we don't want this. And it's still that way today. That's why the billionaires spend so much money trying to distract us and keep us fighting amongst each other. Because as soon as we get enough people that say, this is BS, and we're taking our power back, they're done. And let me tell you this. Anybody who says, oh, it's not fair to take their money and redistribute it. No, it's not. It's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. But the economy is not fair. It's not fair now. It was never fair in the past, and it will never be fair. It has always been a very arbitrary system. Once you get past, the lone family in the woods chopping down their own lumber and farming their own vegetables, once you get any level of sophistication past that, the rules of the economy are arbitrary and they are not fair. But what you can try to make them is sustainable, right? You want to have a sustainable economy, not economies that don't collapse, right? But sustainable economies that are dynamic, that allow for movement, right? And that try and provide a very large middle class, as large of a middle class as possible, with a very small number of poor people and a very small number of wealthy people, right? So you want the main distribution to be in the middle, right? With very, very tiny, at the end. But right now we got a tiny bit of wealthy people and a giant amount of poor people and nothing in between, where the small number of poor people or small number of wealthy people have 50% of the wealth in the world. Less than 10% of the people have 50% of the wealth in America. That's crazy. That's insane. It's not sustainable. It's going to crash, right? Until we, the people, and our Constitution always starts out that way. We, the people, that's the government. It's us. We, the people. The elected representatives are just that. They're representatives. They're servants of the public. And we need to kick them out. And we can do that. And get the turnover rate high enough to where eventually we get some good people in. We can do that. You got to make it easier to kick people out of office. And we can do that. We all just say, we're done with this shit and we're changing things. And if you don't like it, the economy's going to stop, right? They fear that more than anything. We got Mitch McConnell over 45 days and nobody knows if he's alive or dead. That's criminal. That is criminal. Those people who are hiding him need to be in prison. It's criminal. They are breaking federal laws. The governor of the state doesn't know if he's alive or dead. That's criminal. Yeah, that's where we're at. And AI isn't even really AI. It's just large language models, right? Um, and the fact that a couple of billionaires can sign letters of intent and crash the PC market so that college students can afford to have laptops to go to school, that's criminal. It's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. We need those markets regulated. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got for today. I wish you all well. If you're still with me, please consider hitting the like button. It's free for you and helps me more than you know. And always remember, you are more loved than you know and far more valuable than you can imagine. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.